That long, Zane. 6 to 12 months, job security.
Build it into your contract.
I know. They're crazy old times, aren't they? They're exciting times. I think everyone's captured that really well today, actually. That they're challenges, but also once you take the blinkers off and take the panic attacks off, they're incredibly exciting times. We've got about 15 minutes for questions. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus Paul Swain's going to join us, Paul. Are you sure? If anyone wants to ask Paul a question, ask me and we'll get him up. So please, just once again, you've got a splendid suite of people with very different sets of expertise. Just make your way to the mics and we'll go through to 3 o'clock with some questions. Andy Foster is not to start off today.
Curtis here again. This is a question for anybody, but I'm pretty sure a number of you will be able to answer this. The bus problem, in terms of reducing the amount of diesel that we use and using of electricity, whether it's the right speed solution or the battery solution. The question that keeps coming up is the battery technology is not quite there yet. One of you might disagree. When do we expect the battery technology to catch up with what we need in terms of buses? BYD, yeah, okay.
Very good question. Well, I think if we were knowing exactly the answer, I would organize my own company to earn a lot of money. I think we are here. We are there. We have the technology of battery to do a transportation system for mass public transportation. The question is more, how do we use the existing technology in a clever way? You can wait for ages to have the battery you want for your buses. So as some people more than a century ago didn't want to have electricity and still have the, how do you call that? The lights at home. And I don't want electricity. I still want to have my candle because I don't believe in electricity. I think we have the technology, and you say that. The only question is for New Zealand is a passenger capacity, and how can I, or to avoid to increase the operating cost, we still need to have one bus for one bus. Well, I will let New Zealand Bus answer to that, but that means that you need to have exactly the bus which can cover the same range in a way or in another. That's extended range solution. So, in my point of view, we have now, that's why all the big cities are going to electric now. There have been announcements that Paris, I'm talking about Europe, sorry, that's my background, but Paris, Marseille, Barcelona, London, they are all going to pure electric lines, one by one. It's a revolution, but which will take time because you have such amount of vehicles that we can't change everything in 1 month. But we start line by converting full line in electric. So for me, the market is mature, and even if there will be improvement in batteries, one of the advantages, if you want to change a system of battery in 6 years in your bus, you buy a brand new now, you will get rid of your battery because they will be dead in 6-8 years, and you will replace by a better technology system.
Look, I think a lot of that holds true. When we scan the globe and we look at the full electric vehicles available today, and then you start unpicking that in terms of their performance characteristics as it relates to the environment that we operate in New Zealand, unfortunately not quite there yet as we assessed it. Now others will assess it in different ways. I think the trick here is that we're not going to pick one winner across the fleet in New Zealand. Now we've chosen to go down a particular pathway in terms of the right speed powertrain for the reasons that I described earlier. It allows us to address the existing fleet that we've got, and it future-proofs any future fleet that we acquire as well as battery technology improves. What we're able to do is to take out a diesel engine and replace it with a right speed powertrain and still carry the same number of passengers that we do today, no impact in terms of weight and on the road. So, look, I'm sure over the next 4 or 5 years we'll see many, many other products come into the market, and we're looking forward to that. The trick for us now is we're right in the middle of a contracting process. So we're having to make calls now on fleet and the future of that fleet.
So I'll just add, with particularly battery technology, it has come of age quite dramatically as one of the fastest evolving things in recent years, even from the BYD Generation 1 batteries to the Generation 2 batteries. There's only several years between the two, but we were looking at significant weight reductions. They're cheaper and they perform much better. So battery technology is evolving very quickly. But as Pierre says, do you wait until you have your idealistic concept of what you want or what have you, or do we start somewhere? Now with BYD technology, we have a bus that does about 3 hours charge, 15 hours runtime. You get 2 driver shifts for 3 hours of charge. And you're looking at about a range of 350 kilometres. So we're very much seeing that electric buses are coming very much comparable with diesel buses in the way of function.
Well, I went on a really cool electric bus in the States a couple of weeks ago. It has excellent range. Battery technology was improving. There was carbon composite. It was built like an aeroplane, and it cost like one too. I mean, it was. So I mean, once I get some scale in the market and the cost of those things come down, it'll be fabulous.
Sorry, can I just ask one more question before Andrew has a shot? I can see him waiting there. Sue Kedgley, given your knowledge of what's happening in the environment, do we have the time to move as slowly as we're moving, or should the pace increase somewhat?
Well, that's a delightful leading question. Well, your answer obviously is no. And of course, I think someone mentioned this morning, certainly in the Wellington region, 37% of our carbon emissions are from transport. And so that's the low-hanging fruit. That if we're going to significantly reduce our carbon emissions as we're required to, that is the obvious place to start. So the answer is we do need leadership and we do need to move fast. But also that's why I keep throwing in diesel emissions, because it seems to me, even though as with now Euro 6 buses reduce the emissions, what they don't reduce are the tiny 2.5 particulates, which are the carcinogenic particulates. And it seems to me that since the World Health Organization has deemed them to be carcinogenic, we've all just sort of rolled our eyes and sort of, I'm not aware of any real policy work being done on what are the health implications of that. And I'd be delighted if there's someone here from the Ministry of Transport or Ministry of Health who could answer that question. I've certainly asked it through the District Health Board and been told that there isn't really much work going on in this space. So I think the twin drivers of the need for climate change to reduce our carbon emissions and the public health drivers require us to act rapidly.
Thank you.
Andrew Cooper with the Regional Council, primarily a question for Pierre. They'll refer to both Zane and Johan in terms of their strategies for not buying another diesel bus. Pierre, in terms of a number of the benefits that you put up on the screen, it would be very much apparent that Transdev may also be of that view. Is that a global view for Transdev, or is it a country-by-country equation? And if that's the case, what does the environment need to be for that to happen? And what are the barriers to that environment in New Zealand?
Okay, first part of your question, we truly believe that electromobility is there, and from what we see from 2000, I just left France in October last year, so it's not even a year, and all the major cities in Europe changed their mind. A year ago they were all on hybrid, now they are all on full electric. That means that in 6 months, which is unbelievable from my point of view as fleet manager, they have decided that hybrid doesn't worth the investment. Let's go directly to full electric. So Transdev truly believe that this is what we have to work on. One of the main points is that the investment is so huge because it costs to buy you an electric bus. I don't want to say that it's the same amount of money. Yes, it is in the end or after a certain period of time, but you need to have the money in your pocket to buy these new buses, electric buses, or to do an opportunity charging, how to do a refurbishment, I will call that this way, yeah, it costs. Secondly, is it a worldwide strategy? Well, for Transdev, it's a vision also of a new, complete new model of transportation. That means we need to have a disruptive vision. It's not only buses, it's autonomous vehicle, is what we call the last kilometer, where you have to be more in proposition for your public transport authority, or how can I manage the fact that people take their car to go to the nearest bus station sometimes. Because if we just replace buses, we are not covering the wide scope. So we need to have improvement of our transportation, and we need to have improvement of the people we carry every day. Third point is it is worldwide. Is it valid for every country? The answer is no. And as I said before, it just depends on the capacity you have of producing a clean and green energy. I mentioned Germany because all the study I've made, of course, locally in the city of, I would say, Munich or Berlin, you can have a greener air because you will use electric buses. The problem for the country itself, it will be worse because they will have to use more and more coal because they have no other way, coal or fuel, to produce their energy. So the strategy is for France, for the US, it's in the middle. It starts to be better because there are a lot of renewable energy. For here in New Zealand, you have a huge opportunity because you have green energy. That's wonderful. I mean, use it and you can store it anyway. So you can charge. And I want to mention that one of the main points is how can we charge a bus in a clever way. When you have 100 buses, you want to convert in electric, you need more or less 12 meg substations. That means, let's say, 12 substations of 1 megawatt, which is quite huge. The point is, if I say that to an electricity provider and I say, I will take 12 meg during 6 hours, even if it's by night, he may say, well, not really happy of that. If I say, okay, on a 12 hours range, I will charge my 100 buses because I have a computer that do a smart charging. And that's the best way to do it, even with green energy. Because what is happening too on some studies is that on some countries that have green energy, they are not producing enough. On the peak hour, we will ask for power. So New Zealand, yes, of course. Australia, by the way, it's a bit different, but that's on the way too. And European country will depend. And I think the evolution is that that's why I say it's completely global. It's a huge change in the way we see transportation. And I just want to mention also is what is the policy of our governments, I'm French, but for everywhere, for the trucks, because we are 2%. So even if you convert all the buses to electric, you will have a huge impact in vision because people on the city will see electric buses, and that will be the main impact you will have. You still have your delivery trucks. You still have your private company of trucking with a very high, heavy truck, which will pollute the same. So we need to go further more than electric cars, electric buses. We are covering that now. What do we do for the trucks?
Well, just to add to that, I think we also have to be a little bit sensible in terms of how we think about long-term infrastructure spend. I mean, technology is evolving so rapidly. I mean, it took us 100 years to get to today in terms of EVs. We'll be thinking about 30, 40, 50-year infrastructure investment, and we've got so much disruption happening in the environment. We've got to, I'm not saying you don't do it, but we've got to have far more sense applied to and put a really fine ruler across those investment decisions. You know, as we think about light rail as an example.
It's Ian's business, by the way, isn't it? In California, he's electrifying trucks. That's Ian Wright's business.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, that's where he started from. He saw a real few. There's 2 million. Trucks in the US that he's looking to build a market from. He didn't want to come actually anywhere near public transport. In fact, a few providers had spoken to him before I went to see him. The reason for that was we're slow to move, we're too traditional, there's no money in it, we don't think outside the box. and then after I spent and my team spent a week with him, he goes, "You guys should spend far more time in Silicon Valley. You think just like us," which is a bit scary, really. But anyway,
Well, we need the batteries that last more than the iPhone 6 battery, but anyway.
Yes, Brent Efford from Transaction. I've got a few anxieties here too. Heard about range anxiety. This morning I came into this seminar from Arrow Street in a 100% electric bus. So they're here already. They won't be here in a year's time. And my anxiety basically is that it may well not happen in my lifetime again. It seems as though the key to this is the provision of in-street infrastructure, for whether it's for charging or for trolley wires, for trolley buses or whatever. And there is another system that has already entered service, admittedly for tramways, but it's promised for buses as well, from the Alstom company. Pierre may have heard of it, the Alstom SRS charging system, which is a street level thing, doesn't involve any overhead structures, and it can deliver quite a massive recharge within the dwell time of an average transit stop. And I was just wondering if you've heard of this particular system and if you've got any comments on it.
Well, on the Alstom system, I used to work for Alstom when we did the light rail for Bordeaux, which is an induction system, long time ago. It's working well. It's quite expensive at that time. I think it will be less. Everything regarding contactless from the ground has to be associated with what we call BRT in the business, bus rapid transit. That means dedicated lanes. That could be an option. We are working on some lines, and for example, in South America, for Bogota, for example, they have ideas to convert to electricity the model, which is pure diesel, and that should be an option, a very positive option to go for a pure electric with charging on station, completely invisible, because passengers are, of course, on the level of the floor of the bus, and everything which is going under, they don't see it. After that, infrastructure, to be honest, it depends on when you start from. If you start from trolleybus, that will be always less infrastructure in the future than we used to have because of the technology of the battery. If you start from a pure diesel fleet, well, you will need sometimes a substation in the depot, even for to charge at night. So there will be part of infrastructure. Just remember that power substation are very standard nowadays. I mean, it's very standard system. The cost is known, the reliability is known, and the range of investment, you can go on 50 years investment without any doubt on that.
I think it's, and I absolutely agree with what's just been commented on. I think you've got to trial, implement. And not pick one winner here or one solution for a city or a country.
I just see it in the way that you have different systems for different purposes. I think your capacitor fast charge systems that you see high infrastructure costs associated with putting on the lines and what have you to charge the buses to jump them along to the next a stop to charge again. I think that works perfectly in a rapid bus system. It still has to get a little bit better. I think the Volvo rapid charge takes about 30 to 40 seconds. Rapid bus systems, that is actually a little bit too long. So even that technology, it's high infrastructure costs, and large cities are actually finding it a little bit too slow to charge. I mean, you board a bus and then you're sitting there for the next 15 seconds waiting to take off. As well as you're constricted, you could never use that bus on another route or interchange. When you've got a full electric bus that can almost comparably operate the same as a diesel, and especially BYD chargers, they're less than $500 a unit. They're cheap. There's no reason for big infrastructure costs. They're less than $500 a unit.
Just to hopefully take some of your range anxiety away, if I can solve that, I can solve lots of things for mankind. But what we've modelled with Rightspeed is, and this is for you guys as well, the nature of the networks across the country and the peaky nature of the networks means that a lot of those vehicles actually make it back to the depot before they actually deplete a large portion of their battery charge anyway. We do have regenerative braking and everything else that comes with it. So as we've modelled it out in terms of our business, with a fast charge, half-hour fast charge back in the depot, majority of the time they're operating full EV anyway.
Did you want to ask your question, ma'am? We've got a couple of minutes.
Okay. Look, I'm Sarah Free from the Wellington City Council, but really my question was similar to the last speaker's questions. It was in relation to the opportunistic charging and the sort of like the existing infrastructure we might have here in Wellington. I guess it is a quick question for Johan. Are you aware of anything that's been done overseas that where an existing trolley bus network like our overhead lines in Wellington has been of any use at all in transitioning to electric buses or electric trucks or electric anything? It looks like it's a hard question. Oh, it can be for anybody.
The city I mentioned, Le Havre, just abandoned the trolley 10 years ago when they did the light rail. And now they are going back to an opportunity charging long line using the substation of the trolleys they abandoned because the substation was still there.
Okay.
So the idea could exist. That's quite complex, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any system where you can cross over, so to speak. No, not from a trolley bus into an electric.
Honestly, I don't know what is the type of substation you use. 650 kilovolts and 650 volts. Sorry. Yeah, well, with a pantograph on the system, you can use the substation existing. But I think due to the picture I've seen this morning, I think maybe the substation, some of your substations are quite old. So you have... I don't want to say you can go on electric buses with the substation during 50 years because that could be that could be the problem with the substation itself.
Okay, thank you.
Eric, will you finish us off?
Yes, Eric Frickberg from Radio New Zealand. My question is for Zane. You mentioned a 6 to 12 months job security. I wonder what the realistic, what the thought-out scenario timeframe is for autonomous buses, and also, will all your buses be right drivetrain, and if so, how long would that take?
Okay, so I'll answer the second question first. The program that we've got underway is we'll start trialling the first right speed powered vehicle October this year. I mean, that's our best guess. If that all goes well, we'll have upwards of a couple of hundred right speed powered vehicles in production in 2017, which is a large proportion of our fleet. If that all goes well and we've picked a winner, just coming back to the 6 to 12 month piece, I've probably got another year in it. Coming back to, so we're going to scale up really quickly. I mean, I'm not buying any more diesel buses. I mean, that's just a table stake. Autonomous vehicles, really interesting. Had conversations with guys out of Canada, Europe, the States over the last couple of weeks. Our best view is that nobody really knows, but certainly somewhere between 2015 and 2025, you're going to have somewhere between 15 to 30% penetration, which is just a massive ramp up. And we're probably this week leaning on the more 2020 than 2025, 2030. So it's going to happen quickly. It's going to be big. It's actually going to be awesome. Mobility as a service is being talked about, worked on, will be delivered. And yeah, we're pretty excited about it from a passenger transport perspective.
Thank you. Thanks all. Thanks very much. Just a round of applause, if you would, please, for our speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got some gifts for you. Thank you.